community, we are losing the sense of community. I mean, back in India where I grew up, I remember every season my way to get to the school would change. We would all walk to the school back in the days, and that is because different seasons would bear different fruits. And every time there is a different season, we would take a different path depending on what trees were available, and we would just get into the neighborhood. The gates were left open, we would climb on the houses, we would climb on the trees and eat those fruits and create a ruckus. But nobody complained, nobody yelled at us, nobody said, what you guys are doing is a bad thing. And even if one of us fell down, or somebody would come and help us. And there are many times where we would just knock on doors and ask for water or ice and things like that, and we would get it, and they wouldn't ask like, you're a stranger, I'm not going to give it to you, or things like that. And that is the sense of community, which means that when there are kids walking around, you don't really ask yourself a question like, those are not my kids, so I don't give a shit. That's not how you think. You instead consider that those are kids, they're just kids, right? You care. You want to make sure they're fine. And if they're playing, it's not a big deal. But that sense of community is gone instead. And today we are like moving more and more towards the idea of somebody is always looking after, looking to, take advantage of you, or if somebody is being nice to you, then they want something from you. And if somebody's kid gets in trouble, it's not your kid, so you don't really have to, worry about it. And these are like the extreme shift that I'm seeing, like from the time I was growing up to what's going on now. And when you lose that sense of community, you lose that sense of trust. You have essentially a kind of like a contract that is, that is not, that makes you feel that your kids are safe. You know what I mean? Like when your kids are going out or playing around, and somebody gets in trouble, you know that somebody is going to come up and help them out. Somebody's going to bring them home. Things like that. You don't have to, and when that level of trust, when the contract is gone, and we have lost that sense of value, and we have replaced that with this new value where everybody is overly obsessed with the economic endeavor. Everybody wants to be rich and really, really quick. And when that becomes the driving force of all of our lives, we're not concerned about anything else. We don't care about what other people are doing, or we don't care about helping anybody. We are mostly focused on how we can get ahead of everybody else. Everything is competitive. Everything is about me and how I can get a bigger share. And that is alarming. That's one of the observations that I think is something that needs to be discussed upon, and something that we need to figure out how we can bring back. And we are social beings. We have survived as communities for thousands of years, and suddenly we are losing all that and switching to virtual. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I definitely am concerned that it's too quick a change at a macro level, like at a social level, for us to be comfortable about it. And that's what I'm concerned about. There is a huge difference between how you will behave when you're having a private conversation and having a public conversation, and especially a conversation that will be recorded forever. I mean, if you're on social media, if you're on the internet, you write something, you post something, a picture, a video, it's there forever, and you will be judged based on it forever. But sitting with a buddy whom you've had relationship with, who understands you, and having a conversation about a difficult time or a good time or your plans for the future is a completely different experience. You can be honest, you can be straightforward, you can be open, and you can also expect feedbacks, and we can also expect a genuine emotional response. And that is what is being taken away from the equation. It's switching onto the internet. But then again, internet also has this ability to disproportionately empower a handful of people, and those would be the people who would own or control these platforms, and they would have a certain special advantages. So I don't want to get into the political aspects of it, or other social, economic, or social aspects that we're going to influence from a very simple perspective of human behavior and human communication, human emotional needs. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same as having a conversation with somebody personally to having a conversation on the internet with a total stranger, even a friend. I mean, a Facebook friend online is very, very different than hanging out physically with somebody. You, when you're being watched through the internet, then you automatically, subconsciously, consciously modify your own behavior because you are being watched on. It's you just watch yourself. I mean, like the moment you realize there is a camera in front of you, you will behave differently. And when you can, influence people to consciously and subconsciously modify their behavior to act according to somebody's watching you, recording you, and or whatever you say is going to be there forever, then you are modifying human behavior at a social level. This could have essentially a very a drastic effect on everybody's thinking. It could affect our free speech, it could affect our thinking, and it will be a very fearful living environment where everybody is insecure and afraid, and I don't think anybody would be able to be happy in an environment like that. But definitely in an idealistic world, people can celebrate and say we're all open, we're all transparent, but you have to understand privacy is valuable, because if people don't know certain things about you, they cannot use it for good or bad, for or against you, right? And if there are people who get that information and who have bad intentions, your actions can be presented in a particular perspective that could make you look like a bad person, even though you might have not done anything bad. And there are many multiple possibilities that we haven't even thought about that could have some serious implications. It's very difficult to really even articulate at this point of time. Only in the future we'll be able to tell. But the problem is, if we follow this path towards the future, by then you might not even realize that you have lost your power of speech, your rights, free speech, or free thinking, or critical thinking, because you might not even be able to question at that point of time, because everything you say, do, and act is recorded on the internet forever. And then I think social media are two words, social and media. So if you can use it for social, that is your social activities and keeping in touch with people, blah blah blah, and you can use it as media. And when you use it as media, it becomes very powerful. There are two sides to social media. One side is people consume, and the other side is people create. And when you are on the media side, you have this disproportionate amount of power to influence all these people who are consuming. A majority of the people who are consuming don't even realize their job or their intention is to only consume. And once that becomes a habit, they pretty much become dictated by those habits. But the people who are creating are people with specific intentions, specific goals, and that is how they create the content. And the content, whatever they're putting out, has a particular path, a particular purpose, and a particular result that they want out of it. And that is the big difference between a few people who think social media is for fun and entertaining, and a few people who think social media is actually media. It can be used for your advantage. You can use it to advertise, market your brand, your product, or your service, or establish yourself, or spread your message, which is essentially what I'm trying to do.